because
Cold side, you're going to see more snow in the Cascades. That's the weather. Have a great weekend.
On World News Tonight this Wednesday, the United States has begun bombing the Serbs.
Only firmness now can prevent greater catastrophe later.
The Serbian leader tells his nation we must defend ourselves. Peace and justice are on our side. And so it begins. Where does it end?
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings.
Good evening. The Serbs have been under attack by the NATO alliance for several hours now. The Serbs have already said that civilians have been attacked and killed and that they have shot down a NATO plane. No confirmation of that. Military sources tell us the Serbs have lost as many as 3 planes. Our reporters in the Serbian capital, Belgrade, and in the province of Kosovo report that they have seen or heard the attacking forces nearby. We will hear from both places in just a minute. Most of the aircraft today have been flying out of Aviano in Italy. Our man there, Bill Rediker, says that standing on the edge of the runway, you know this has been a very heavy opening night of bombing, largely by the United States, but also involving the French, the British, the Dutch, and the Canadians. And NATO forces have been attacking targets all over Serbia, not just in the southern province of Kosovo. Our Pentagon correspondent John McCarthy has the numbers to indicate just how big it is.
The opening salvo was even heavier than advertised. Nearly 100 manned aircraft joined the fight. F-117 stealth fighter bombers, F-15s, F-16s, and an array of European fighters. ABC's Bill Rediker was at the main NATO air base in Italy.
30 minutes after it began, 30 warplanes have taken off. Most of them F-15s and F-16s, combat aircraft that can fire air-to-air or air-to-ground missiles.
2 of America's B-2 bombers, $4 billion worth of aircraft, saw their first action in combat, flying all the way from the U.S. But before the planes, dozens of satellite-guided unmanned cruise missiles were fired from B-52 bombers and ships positioned well outside of Serb territory.
We are striking a range of military targets, including Yugoslavia's extensive air defense system, its command and control system, and the military forces that Yugoslavia is using to suppress the Albanians in the province of Kosovo.
Serb missiles hidden in the mountains are regarded as such a deadly threat that Pentagon planners estimated more than a dozen NATO planes could be shot down. The Pentagon has rushed special commando units to Europe whose only job would be to rescue pilots inside Serbia. But on the first night of Operation Allied Force, it appears that the only planes shot down were Serb, as many as 3 of their Russian-built MiGs. Flying in and out of bad weather tonight, NATO pilots were operating under extremely tight rules. No one wants civilian casualties. ABC News has learned that in the initial phase of the bombing, only those targets 3/4 of a mile from the nearest civilians would be hit. Military sources say the NATO plan calls for an air campaign that could last 2 or 3 weeks. But U.S. officials are hoping Milosevic will yield long before then. Peter?
Thanks very much, John McCarthy at the Pentagon. The first reaction from Serbia was what you'd expect from a nation under attack by the major military powers: resentment and anger. They've been through a lot already, some Serbs. And fear. There is reason to be afraid of NATO, and for many people there is reason to be afraid of the forces that President Milosevic commands. We're going to go first to the Serbian capital, Belgrade, and ABC's Jim Wooten.
It began just past 8:30 here. A series of orange flashes, a half dozen or so on the edge of the city. Even from 12 miles away, the concussion shook the downtown buildings. An aircraft factory was destroyed, left in flames. The Yugoslav army reported an indefinite number of women and children living in military housing had been killed. And in Pristina, missiles also lit the sky. ABC's reporter in the Kosovo capital had this account.
At 5 minutes to 8 o'clock, we were able to see a flash on the sky, and then we heard a serious detonation, one that Pristina never heard before.
Government television quickly announced the country was at war. NATO has begun the bombing of Yugoslavia, the anchor said. Record numbers of Serbs are volunteering, he reported. Earlier in the day, Yugoslav President Milosevic told viewers he was prepared for peace, but not willing to allow NATO troops in Kosovo. Nothing had changed. The authorities quickly silenced one of the few independent media voices in Belgrade. Radio B92 was shut down and its chief editor taken into custody. Authorities have also shut down all transmission equipment used by foreign networks here, leaving only the government satellite. And as the missiles began falling, police began arresting journalists watching the attack from the roof of a local hotel. Jim Wooten, ABC News, Belgrade.
We'll go to Kosovo in just a minute. Our resident military analyst, Tony Cordesman, joins us first from the Washington Bureau. Tony, very big attack, much bigger than many people had anticipated. What precisely do you think that tells us?
I think we're hitting very, very hard. We're hitting throughout the entire country at virtually every major complex. And one of the key reasons is we want to get them before they can disperse, before they can react to this attack, while the targets can still be located and they're still vulnerable.
And what are you able to pick up about the capacity of their resistance?
Once we hit at their major systems, they still have a lot of capability. There are 40,000 troops already in Kosovo. They have 300 tanks. A lot of these forces are scattered among civilians. They're hard to get out. Once we hit their major air defense command and control centers, lots of their fire units are going to go on and survive.
Thanks very much, Tony Cordesman. A lot is on the line in these attacks for the NATO alliance. And of course, this is President Clinton's first real test as an international leader since the impeachment trial. And so there's a lot on the line for him, too. With much of America somewhat confused why the U.S. is involved in Kosovo, Mr. Clinton went on national television tonight to explain. ABC's Sam Donaldson is at the White House. Sam.
Peter, that's right. The polls show that Americans are about evenly divided on whether this bombing is a good idea. So the president wanted to make his case to the country. He spoke tonight from the Oval Office, and here is some of what he had to say.
Today, our armed forces joined our NATO allies in airstrikes against Serbian forces responsible for the brutality in Kosovo. We have acted with resolve for several reasons. We act to protect thousands of innocent people in Kosovo from a mounting military offensive. We act to prevent a wider war, to defuse a powder keg at the heart of Europe that has exploded twice before in this century with catastrophic results. And we act to stand united with our allies for peace. By acting now, we are upholding our values, protecting our interests, and advancing the cause of peace.
But the president was careful to limit the goals of the bombing. Missing was all the previous talk of forcing Serbian leader Milosevic to sign a peace agreement. Instead, Mr. Clinton said the bombing is being done to demonstrate NATO's seriousness, deter attacks on helpless civilians, and diminish Serbia's military capabilities to wage war.
Now they've started moving from village to village, shelling civilians and torching their houses. We've seen innocent people taken from their homes, forced to kneel in the dirt and sprayed with bullets. Kosovar men dragged from their families, fathers and sons together, lined up, and shot in cold blood. Now, I want to be clear with you. There are risks in this military action. Risks to our pilots and the people on the ground. Serbia's air defenses are strong. It could decide to intensify its assault on Kosovo, or to seek to harm us or our allies elsewhere. If it does, we will deliver a forceful response. Do our interest in Kosovo justify the dangers to our armed forces? I've thought long and hard about that question. I am convinced that the dangers of acting are far outweighed by the dangers of not acting, dangers to defenseless people and to our national interests. If we and our allies were to allow this war to continue with no response, President Milosevic would read our hesitation as a license to kill. There would be many more massacres, tens of thousands more refugees, more victims crying out for revenge. Right now, our firmness is the only hope the people of Kosovo have to be able to live in their own country without having to fear for their own lives.
The president now must try to accomplish his goals, but administration officials hope that can be done very expeditiously and declare victory, Peter.
Sam, as you know, up on Capitol Hill, there's some real agitation about the White House is having an exit strategy or not. Do they have one?
Well, in the stated goals, there is an exit strategy. The president says to diminish, to damage. Those are subjective words, Peter. Diminish how much? Damage how much? Obviously, to keep the Serbs from overrunning Kosovo and killing a lot more people. But at any point, Mr. Clinton may say, we've done it, we can now pull back.
Okay, Sam, thanks very much. Sam Donaldson at the White House. When we come back, we'll go inside Kosovo, where there is fear, and tonight, there is flight.
This is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings. Brought to you by Tylenol PM.
Morning seems so much brighter after a good night's sleep. That's why I love my Tylenol PM. Sometimes I have trouble sleeping. I used to worry about taking something. How would I feel in the morning? And then I tried Tylenol PM. It stops my pain and helps me sleep. So in the morning, I'm rested, refreshed, ready to make the most of my day.
Rest easy. It's Tylenol PM.
We have new facts about a nationwide conspiracy. Its members are profoundly happy. They're not forced to stay, but once they join, they never want to leave. Here's their latest recruitment effort.
Now buy a DirecTV system and get free installation, plus 3 free months of programming, with no long-term commitments. So hurry, sign up today.
Someday we will all be one of them. Who are these people?
DirecTV. What are you looking at?
Joseph.
Yes, Papa.
Call on the thistles, the dandelions, and the other weed families. It's time we made peace.
Peace? With the thistles? Papa!
There is an enemy that threatens all weeds. It is the spray, and it is unlike any other.
Well, bribe it then.
The spray does not respond to bribes.
No bribes? What's the world coming to?
Roundup kills weeds others can't. Roundup, no root, no weed, no problem.
Well, it's time to go. Oh, we love having you here. Oh, we'll be back. It's a great place. Thanks.
Have you always had this in?
Oh, we run our own printing company.
This was always our dream for when we retired.
You should have seen it before.
It needed a lot of work. We did it. I don't know if we'd be able to do it.
You'd be surprised.
Martin got us investing in T. Rowe Price.
Even helped us work out what we could spend once we retired.
Maybe we ought to think about that.
I think so.
T. Rowe Price, helping people invest with confidence for over 60 years.
Kosovo was a province in turmoil before today. Today's NATO attacks have only produced greater chaos. The ethnic Albanians who lived there certainly wanted the NATO alliance to restrain the Serbs. The tens of thousands of Albanians are now on the run, afraid the Serbs will take their anger out on them. In other words, revenge. Many are headed south for the neighboring country, Macedonia. ABC's Mike Lee reports tonight from the Kosovo-Macedonia frontier.
Even before the attacks began, fear closed in on Kosovo's capital. Ethnic Albanians began to panic, jostling for what little bread was left in the bakeries. There was a rush to leave. Almost anywhere seemed better than here. But there were not enough buses, maybe not enough time, not with heavily armed Serb military police now patrolling Pristina. The Serbs know that airstrikes could eventually cripple their military, but they also know that without NATO forces on the ground in Kosovo, they can also inflict an awful lot of death and misery on the Albanian population before they're stopped. There was already evidence of that today. Another Albanian village on fire. For many ethnic Albanians, there are conflicting emotions. If the Serbs are bombed, I worry what will happen to my children, says this woman. Still, without airstrikes, there won't be any peace. Some people made it to the Kosovo-Macedonia border today. I lost everything, says this woman. I have to flee because there is no other way. This exodus is, of course, exactly what the Serbs want to happen. It puts a strain on neighboring states which support U.S. policy, and it rids the Serbs of thousands more ethnic Albanians. Serb goals all along. Mike Lee, ABC News at the Kosovo-Macedonia border.
As we have already said, this attack on the Serbs is a very serious test for the United States' relationship with Russia. Yesterday, you recall, Russia's Prime Minister Primakov turned around in mid-flight on his way to a meeting in Washington. And today, the Russians said they would end their formal partnership with NATO, at least for now. ABC's Richard Gisborne is in Moscow.
President Yeltsin went on TV tonight, and he wanted to be heard near and far. I appeal to the whole world, he said, to persuade Clinton not to take this tragic step. The U.S. and NATO are being denounced here in rhetoric reminiscent of the Cold War. And beyond the talk, there may be real problems for the U.S. and its allies. Prime Minister Primakov's government says if NATO can launch airstrikes without the UN's approval, then Russia can ship weapons to Yugoslavia in violation of the UN's arms embargo. The Russian military went on alert tonight, standard procedure at times like this, but the official news agency, TASS, reports Russia might go further and move tactical nuclear weapons to Belarus, which shares a border with Poland, a new NATO member. Russia still needs the West because it's broke and needs billions of dollars to avoid defaulting on its loans. But the Kremlin says it won't trade its principles for money. Richard Gisbert, ABC News, Moscow.
The Kosovo crisis for now. We'll stay on top of it, of course. When we return, we'll have some of the other news. The legal arguments today about the ride-along.
When some people have allergies, they sneeze a lot. Others get an itchy, runny nose or nasal congestion. Me, I had it all. So I said to my doctor, enough already. He prescribed Flonase nasal spray.
Multi-symptom Flonase. Once a day relieves all nasal allergy symptoms all day and all night long. For any or all of those nasal symptoms.
All it takes is Flonase.
For best results, Flonase must be used daily. Maximum relief may take several days. Side effects are generally mild and may include headache, nosebleed, or sore throat. Call to learn more. Even kids as young as 4 can use Flonase. For nasal allergy relief, ask your doctor about multi-symptom Flonase.
When you get it all it takes is Flonase.
Why do I rent from Enterprise? Very simple. No stress. They arrange to pick me up free, so I don't have to ask anyone for a ride. See? No stress. Pick Enterprise. We'll pick you up.
What's in your dream home? Beautiful new floors. How about a different look for the wall? Or new window treatments? Fantastic colors with countless choices, thousands of options. If you can dream it, you can do it at the Home Depot, where low prices are just the beginning.
When I take a liquid antacid, I feel like, ugh.
It's like liquid chalk.
I'm not crazy about any of them.
If you had something that tastes better, it would be a joy.
Introducing new fast-acting Mylanta Supreme.
What makes it supreme? Wow.
Oh, that's good. I'm not getting it.
Very light. Yeah, it tastes like a dessert.
It's the only liquid antacid with no chemical preservatives.
It doesn't taste like medicine, I'll tell you.
It's actually helping my indigestion now.
Supreme relief. Taste it for yourself.
Should I have some more?
The government said today that the world's most widely used plane, the 737, needs to be fixed and flown better. The recommendation is a result of an investigation into the crash of 2 737s, which government investigators blame on a rudder malfunction. The investigators are calling for a more reliable rudder design, better pilot training, and more advanced flight data recorders. In Chicago today, Jesse Jackson announced he will not make a third run for the presidency. Time running for president, Mr. Jackson said, is time I could use to do something else. He will still work to register voters, and he will stay on Wall Street's case for greater investment in minority businesses. The Supreme Court heard arguments today about something called the ride-along. This is an arrangement between the police and the news media that seems to serve the needs of both those groups, but raises the question about the rights of private citizens. Here's ABC's John Miller.
For the press, ride-alongs with the police provide gritty stories and dramatic pictures. For the police, the stories most often portray them as the good guys, going after dangerous criminals. The question before the Supreme Court today was, how much access should the press have to police operations?
Please search warrant, everybody on the ground!
The case involves raids where reporters and camera crews are allowed to follow police and federal agents onto private property and into private homes. The agents and police have warrants to go through those doors. But do those warrants allow the police to bring the media inside? Defense lawyers say it's an invasion of privacy.
They just don't have a right to be there. It's not on the warrant. They're not authorized by the court. It's the court's authority that allows the law enforcement agent to intrude on the privacy of the person.
An organization representing newspapers and television networks, including this one, argued that media access to police operations is important to show the public how their police work. Get on the ground, get on the ground. To some television programs, like the show Cops, being able to follow the police inside may also be important to their ratings.
There's no reason that a person should expect to have privacy if he or she has committed acts that have resulted in a search warrant.
The argument among the Supreme Court justices today boiled down to this. What is really at stake here? Is it the public's right to know, or the media's ability to produce a more exciting, entertaining product? John Miller, ABC News, New York.
On Wall Street today, the Dow Jones Industrial Average was down just under 5 points to close at 96.66. On the NASDAQ, stocks were up 42 points. The highest court in Britain has ruled that the former dictator of Chile, Augusto Pinochet, does not have immunity from arrest on charges of human rights violations. Today's ruling actually clears the way for a hearing on General Pinochet's extradition to Spain, which wants to put him on trial for conspiracy to torture and for murder. When we come back, deep behind the crisis in Kosovo.
They made a myth out of a defeat. This is a symbol to them that Serbia cannot be destroyed.
A place with 600 years of bitter history.
Overactive bladder.
Those strong, sudden urges.
Going to the bathroom so often.
Wedding accidents.
Discover prescription Detrol. Detrol is proven effective to treat overactive bladder. Detrol reduced bathroom visits by 2.2 times in 24 hours versus 1.1 times with a sugar pill. Stay a little longer?
Love to.
1.2 fewer wedding accidents occurred with Detrol versus 0.8 fewer with a sugar pill. Similar decreases over 24 hours. Do not take Detrol if you have certain types of stomach, urinary, or glaucoma problems. The most common side effect is dry mouth at 39.5% for Detrol versus 15.9% for sugar pill. Common but less frequent ones may include dry eyes, headache, constipation, and indigestion. Head back?
Not right now.
For more product information, call us or ask your doctor about prescription Detrol. Proven effective to treat overactive bladder.
Glad I asked my doctor about Detrol.
You've all gotten what you wanted in this deal. V6, dual sliding doors, etc., etc. What about my client? Where's his share? Who's looking out for him? Jackie Childs, that's who. What's he need with 9 cup holders? What about 9 bottle holders? Yeah, you like that, don't you?
Oh, brother.
What's that?
Nothing.
The all-new 7-passenger, 9-bottle holding something for everyone Honda Odyssey. It's one big happy minivan.
Does tossing one of these into your tank kill germs? Well, here's one way to be sure. Lysol Continuous Action Automatic Toilet Cleaner. It not only cleans, it kills germs. No other automatic toilet cleaner kills more. You have our word on it.
To most people, gardening's a hobby, but to the professional grower, it's a serious business.
You can't be in this business and not love flowers. You know, we grow over 500 million flowers a year. We want big flowers. Color is what it's all about, and that's why we use Miracle-Gro. It's got the right balance, nutrition. You know, gardeners are always afraid that they're going to take this plant home and kill it. You know, growing plants is really easy. A dose of Miracle-Gro every so often, and I guarantee you, you're going to have nothing but great results.
I became interested in working in the brokerage industry when I was very young. I went to Harvard. I majored in economics. We had a last trade at 59 and 7/16. That was down 4 and 3/16 on the day. Throughout my life, I've had to work hard and had to focus to get where I am, and I'm going to bring that ethic to my job here at Schwab. Charles Schwab, Adam, 122998. Anytime you have a company that's been this successful at Schwab, obviously the employees are driving that, and I hope that I benefit Schwab in their growth and in their success, and I will.
Put on your best suit. You are cordially invited to Lobster Fest at Red Lobster. Indulge in all of your lobster favorites at the most casual prices of the year. Escape to Red Lobster for Lobster Fest. Hurry, ends April 4th.
On 2020 tonight, she called 911 for help.
What's wrong?
A day later, she was found dead. Did the operator do the right thing? What could happen when you call 911 for help? 2020 tonight.
Coming up next on Channel 2 News, a bank heist in southeast Portland results in a standoff between police and the suspected robber. And the best-dressed birds in town pay a visit to a very special little girl. I'm Paul Lindman. News of the Northwest is next.
Finally, this evening, a closer look at what it is about this place called Kosovo that has the NATO alliance and the Serbian political leader Slobodan Milosevic at war. Kosovo is about the size of Connecticut. It's very poor, but it is reeking with history, and it is identity that matters. Here's ABC's Bill Lakemore.
To understand Kosovo, you have to know about this place. It's called the Field of Blackbirds, covered with gravestones and monuments. And you have to know about two things that happened here. The first was 6 centuries ago. A Muslim army was pushing north, aiming to overrun Christian Europe. Christian Kosovo, the Serbs' capital, was a door through which the Muslim army would have to pass. In 1389, the Serbs fought the Muslims in Kosovo and lost. The Muslims drove them out and took over the entire region. Ever since, the Serbs have called Kosovo the grave of our liberty.
They made a myth out of a defeat, and they vowed to return to Kosovo. So in a sense, this is a symbol to them that Serbia cannot be destroyed.
The second event was just a decade ago. Serbian leader Slobodan Milosevic, now in control of the region, came to the Field of Blackbirds and gave a speech. It was a call for a renewed militant Serbian nationalism in Croatia, in Bosnia, and in Kosovo itself. Even though the population of Kosovo was by now 90% Muslim ethnic Albanians, he declared an end to their autonomy. The Christian Serbs would take over the schools, the police, the courts.
It's the place where their churches are, where their patriarchy is, and it's the place which they have regained after centuries.
In the media, Milosevic used the Serbian passion about controlling Kosovo as a tool to strengthen his own hold-on power. And it's been used to excuse the brutal ethnic cleansing driving the Muslim ethnic Albanians out of Kosovo. You could still feel the centuries of hatred in the Serbian parliament yesterday as members defied the NATO alliance and any foreign powers with calls for Serbian honor and ancient rights to this land. You can still hear it in the old ballads they sing about losing on the Field of Blackbirds, and how they want to keep it as it was before the Muslims arrived, 600 years ago. Bill Blakemore, ABC News.
Oh, how we are sometimes governed by our history. And now the United States and its NATO allies and Serbia are at war. The U.S. and NATO began bombing the Serbs today. The initial attack was even heavier than expected. Although there's been no confirmation, the Serbs do say that civilians have been among the victims. President Clinton has said that only firmness now can prevent catastrophe later. That is our report on World News Tonight. Later on 2020, the latest on the bombings. We'll stay up to this by the hour. And then on Nightline, an exclusive interview with the U.S. envoy Richard Holbrooke. I'm Peter Jennings. Have a good evening and good night.
The bombing in Kosovo has begun. Stay with ABC News. Tonight, a Nightline exclusive. U.S. envoy Richard Holbrooke. And wake up to the latest tomorrow on Good Morning America.
This has been a presentation of ABC News. More Americans get their news from ABC News than from any other source.